Hello guys and happy Tuesday. So in today's video, I know a lot of you have been waiting for this. So what I'm going to be doing is actually running through our budget for July. Now, if you are totally new to my channel, then you might not know, but I have been doing these budgeting videos for over the past few months, I would say since November time, where I really just walk through my budget in terms of how much I'm saving versus my essential bills and also how much I allocate to my spending as well. So if you haven't seen any of my budgeting videos, then definitely check that out. I will link one up here for you and in the description below. Now, the reason why this video is slightly different is because in the past I was actually living at home with my parents, so it did mean I didn't have a lot of expenses, and that actually meant I was able to save and invest quite a high percentage of my income. Whereas now, obviously I'm now married, and so we have actually moved out, and it means that we do have additional expenses, which a lot of you will know that I was not looking forward to at all. So what we're going to be doing is just going through our budget and actually showing you guys the yearly roundup in terms of how much we are currently saving as well. So I'm very excited for this video, and let's just get started. So if I open up my budget spreadsheet here for the month of July, if you are currently new to my channel and you didn't know, this is the budget template that I use. So it's actually my own, and it is something that you can also purchase as well. So at the moment I am using the monthly budget template, but I also have a weekly budget template as well. So it has the same categories, it's just split by the weeks, but it's all basically the same. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. I will of course link that in the description below for you. So if we move over to our total income, what I would say is at the moment, a lot of you guys will know that I do tend to keep the salaries quite private, but most of you will know that I actually earn under £35,000 a year. So I think that's around the same in US dollars, probably under 40,000 US dollars, but essentially that's how much I earn every year, and that really hasn't changed at all. And I would say that my husband's salary, so his name is Yinka if you didn't know, but my husband's salary is around the same, I would say, so slightly more, but essentially that's kind of how much we earn. In terms of investments, if you didn't know, we currently invest in the stock market at the moment, but in terms of anything like dividends, we currently reinvest it back into our portfolios, and the same with side hustle slash business. At the moment, even though I am generating some money, I choose to actually reinvest that back into the business, essentially because I do want it to grow. So with our budget, in terms of our total income, is really just being taken from our salaries. So next up, we are moving over to savings and investments, which I think again a lot of people were interested in, just because they wanted to see whether we are actually still able to save money despite having, you know, expenses based on rent and things like that. So you can actually see that we are currently putting about £1,500 into our savings. So that is probably around 2,000 US dollars, I would say. And then what we're also doing is putting £100 each both into our stocks and shares ISA. So slightly less compared to what I used to budget before. I used to budget around £200, but obviously based on the fact that we now have a lot more expenses, it means we can only put about £100. But I'm still really happy that we're still able to invest and also still put quite a large amount of savings aside. So you can see that in total we are currently saving and investing around £1,700. Now obviously if you were to divide that by 2, then it does mean we are saving around £850 each. But what I did realize is that if I then put some of the money that I earn from my side hustle and business, we would probably be more closer to the £2,000 mark, which is really good. Obviously at the moment I've got other priorities in terms of what I want to do with my business, but it's nice to know that in theory we could get closer to that £2,000 mark. So I'm really hoping that we start to save that much, hopefully over the next few months, or at least in the near future. But actually the fact that we're saving around £850 each, I think is really good, considering that we do now pay for things like rent and utilities. So I'm definitely happy with that, and obviously a lot of you guys will know that I was saving over £1,000 a month, so to go to around £850 for me is not bad at all. So happy days. Then next up we are moving over to essential bills. Now I know quite a few of you will also be interested in this category. So in terms of the first one, we are actually paying rent. So if you didn't know, that's something that we've chosen to do at this point in time, and we are paying £1,050 every single month. So it is actually quite expensive, I would say. That's probably around 1,400 US dollars as well, but considering that we're living in London, honestly London prices are just absolutely ridiculous, so I'm not too surprised at that. In case you were interested, we are paying £1,050 for a 1-bedroom flat in London. So if you ever want to move to London, then these are probably some of the prices you might be looking at. And actually this is probably one of the cheapest that we found, considering how close we are to Central, because we are fairly close. I would say that we are still a bit further out, but we're still able to get to Central London quite quickly. So I think that's probably why it's reflected in the price. In terms of our water bill, so we pay about £50 a month, and so that's something that we just have to do as part of of our utility bills. And then we also pay electric and gas, so that is £43 a month. Now, what we had really tried to look at is in terms of the other suppliers, just to see if there were any cheaper suppliers. But actually the suppliers that were in this flat, in terms of the prices, they were actually quite competitive already. So we decided to stay with them, and we are currently paying about £43 a month. So I don't necessarily think that's bad. Obviously, if you're paying a lot less, then definitely let me know. But in terms of the prices that we saw on like Compare the Market and just all these comparison sites, £43 wasn't too bad. We then also pay for our council tax. Now this month we did have to pay £140. Usually it would be about £126. So what I just need to double check is why it's so much higher. I don't know whether it's because we're paying for less months or anything like that. So I really just need to get through to the phones with them. But at the moment, this month we did have to pay £140. And then our broadband is usually around £28. The only reason why we're not paying anything this month is because we only just had the broadband fixed in the flat basically. So we're not going to be paying that until next month. So looking forward to paying that as well. And then next up we have got iCloud. So I'm currently paying about £1.58 for that. And actually I think Yinka does also pay for iCloud here as well. So that's why it's £1.58. So it's not too bad, I guess under £2. And then we also have our SIM contracts. So with Yinka's one, it is £12 a month. And then with my one, it is about £10 a month. So if you didn't know, we currently both use Voxy, and for me, I've just been really happy with it. I mean, I get a lot of data, I would say, and unlimited minutes and unlimited text and endless social media as well. So things like WhatsApp and Facebook and Instagram and things like that. So I think it's really, really cheap considering how much you get. So definitely check Voxy out if you haven't already. I will of course leave a link in the description below in case you are interested. And then next up we have petrol. So we do actually now have a car. So we have one car where Yinka actually drives to work. So we now need to pay for petrol as well. So if you guys didn't know, I used to drive, and then obviously I was working from home because of the pandemic, and then someone also crashed into my car. So I didn't have a car for a very long time, a good few months. So now at the moment we just have the one car, and we put about £80 because that's usually enough for the whole month for him to go to work, but then also for us to drive around during the weekends sometimes. So that's all good. And then the next one is TV license. Now the reason why that's zero at the moment isn't because we decided not to pay for TV license, but it's actually because when we moved in, we actually decided to pay for TV license for the whole year. It's just because we just didn't really want to think about it, and we actually had some money left over that we could just potentially put money into. So for us, it's good that we just don't necessarily need to think about that expense. In terms of the direct debit, I think it was around £14 a month or something. So it wouldn't have been too bad, but we had £100 in our account, so we just decided to pay for it, to be honest. So yeah, I'm glad that's done. And then next up, we obviously pay for our tithes. So this is something that we both do already anyway. So we put a percentage of our income into our tithes. We also give to charity, and we also do other giving as well. Again, I've left that blank just for personal reasons, but for us, giving is really, really important, just based on us being a Christian couple, but just in general as well. So that is basically all our essential bills. So in terms of everything else, excluding charity and giving, that comes to about £1,387. So a huge chunk of change compared to what I was dealing with before. My essential bills, I think before was like £10 just from my SIM contract, and then obviously separately I had giving. But yeah, it's changed a little bit now, but it's okay. We're still able to save and invest our money, so I'm happy. And then next up is our sinking funds. Now we haven't actually put any sinking funds yet at the moment. Some of the reasons is because my husband does not like sinking funds. He doesn't necessarily see the point, whereas I am a huge advocate for sinking funds. So we are currently working that through. But also what I realized is actually the money that I saved for things like Christmas and birthday presents is pretty much enough for me to be able to buy as many presents as I want in terms of how many people I'm going to be buying presents for. So now I just really need to think in terms of what sinking funds we're going to have. We're most likely going to have one for clothes, so hopefully that will start to come up over the next few months, but at the moment that's probably all I'm thinking about. In terms of the car, so you guys will know that I also used to put things like car maintenance for MOT, road coverage and things like that, but essentially we have already paid for that for the year already, so money has actually been put aside for that. So that's why it's not currently on our sinking funds yet, because it's something that we will need to be thinking about next year. But yeah, at the moment our sinking funds is blank, which yeah, looks a little bit lonely. And then moving over to our spending. So in terms of groceries, we have budgeted around £165 a month. So typically what I've realized is that we tend to spend around £30 a week on food shopping. Now, considering that I was only spending about £16 a week on my own food shopping, for us to now go to around £30, which is basically like £15 each, I'm actually very happy with. Initially, I was worried about the groceries budget just because my husband does tend to eat a lot more than me, and he also likes varieties in his meal, whereas I'm content with just having one meal a week. He would prefer not to do that. So initially I was a little bit worried, but actually because we do most of our shopping at Aldi, because we do have an Aldi near us, which I'm so thankful for, it does mean that we're able to budget around £30 a week. And to be honest, in terms of the actual food, I think we're probably having about 3 to 4 different meals within that week. So I'm really happy with that. And even with things like lunch, for example, I'm really content with just having toast and eggs, and that's my lunch, and that's happy days. Whereas he actually needs to have a full-on meal for lunch, so things like pasta or wraps or things like that. So again, that's another meal added on, which I was a little bit worried about in terms of the cost, but it's actually been fine. Again, the main reason is because we shop at Aldi. So it's currently £165 for the month. The reason being is because of when we get paid, we now actually have 5 weeks until we get paid again. So it works out to be about £33 a week. So I'm definitely happy with that, and currently it is going well. And then next up we have toiletries. So currently we are budgeting around £30 for that. I'm even trying to remember how much I used to budget before. I think it was around £15 or £20. You will probably know from my other budgeting videos. I can't believe I've already forgotten how much I used to budget, but currently we do budget around £30, and that's usually actually more than enough for us as well. And then we do also have our individual amounts for spending. So we have allocated £100 each for our spending, and so really that's going to be things like if I want to go out with my friends, or if I just want to buy random things, that is really what that money is there for. So you will see that actually we join basically everything else. So we pretty much join all of our finances. This is the only thing that we do really keep separate. So it's about £100 each for both of us. And actually I do have a treat for you guys, because on Friday we're actually going to be uploading a video talking about how we joined our finances. So definitely make sure you subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out. But yeah, essentially £100 each I think should be enough, because we don't really tend to spend that much money anyway. So really that's just our fun money right there. And then we also have a £60 budget for our date night. So this is something that we decided that we want to be doing every single month. So whether that's going to be actually going out to eat for 1 week, and then the other week we do something at home, we have budgeted around £60 a month for that. So hopefully that should be enough. To be honest, we don't really tend to go out too often anyway, so this is probably going to be one evening out and then one date night at home. So that's really how we have calculated it. And then the other thing is personal care. So that's something that we also have to budget for, and that's around £40 a month. We also have a property magazine. So this is something that I was subscribed to before, and I pay for that I think quarterly. So that's about £5 a month, so it's not too bad. And then we also have our miscellaneous. So that's in case anything crops up and there's things that we need to pay for, especially because we've only just moved into this flat, so it's not been too long. There's some things that we potentially still need to buy. So again, £40 is left for miscellaneous. And then we had money just left over, so that was then put into the pennies jar. So I have convinced him to have a pennies jar for our joint account. So in total for our spending, we have around £548, which I think is around 700 odd US dollars. So for me, I don't think this is bad at all, because that's what, under £225 each, I would say. So actually, when you look at my previous budgets, I think I used to spend quite a similar amount anyway, and I know that he used to spend quite a similar amount anyway as well. So the fact that we've now brought our finances together, it means that we don't actually have to break the bank in terms of our spending, and we're still able to do our own things, but also do things like go on date nights and entertainment and things like that. So I'm really happy with this budget, and yeah, I'm just happy with how things are going at the moment. And so now what I want to do is just take a look at the yearly roundup. Now obviously this is just the start of the budget, because it didn't really make sense to mix all of my personal budgets in that. So I've really started this from July, and I'd be interested to see how this sort of carries on until the end of the year. But what I would like to see is how much we are currently saving and investing versus our spending. So as you can see here, we are currently saving and investing investing around 42% of our incomes. Our essential bills, and that also includes giving, comes to about 45%. I would say in terms of our essential bills, it probably comes to just over 30%, I would say, of our income, and we are currently spending only about 14% of our income as well. So I'm really happy with this, and considering that we do now have a lot of different costs involved, especially with paying rent in London, which is very expensive, plus utility bills and things like that, I am happy that we are still able to save over 40% of our income. And I think if we are able to increase our income even more, then I'm hoping that that can start to get to about 50%. So yeah, I'm really happy with that, and I think it's just been a great start to our budgeting season. So if you did like this video, then please do give me a thumbs up if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments, did you think we would be able to save our money living in London? I do post every Tuesday and Friday, so if you would like to know more, then of course you can subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys on Friday.